On the AC.
Sorry about my other video.
And I know the fire lane keeps coming up, but really it's a safety issue, and in partnership with Safe Routes to Schools, et cetera, it's really great to see the community come together in the happiness that Sun Valley has. So I know it's, I guess, more of a safety comment, but my joy last year was being able to sit and see the mathematics that you had highlighted in action with your students on the floor with counting. And so I hope to have all of us come back and see that in action at a future site visit.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentation. I know it takes a lot to put these together, so I really appreciate getting the update. And I hope to come and see sometime soon. Did you have the facility? So thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Turner. Okay, so I just was gonna say, as someone who taught fifth grade, I love your math focus, and I have 2 fifth graders, and so I want a copy of your Strengthen at Home partnership copy. Whatever I would love that. In all seriousness, I really believe in the power of math, because math does track our students for the legacy of their educational career. So I am just really thankful that we're thinking of our students first, and that is a key component, because it's a key component in my house that I'm always kind of fighting with. But thank you for that, and just please send me that copy. Okay. Also, thank you for being patient on all the construction. I know that our team is working really hard, and I know that, you know, little might go into certain places. So thanks for your patience, and thank you for your great presentation, for being here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we take a quick break because
We think we're okay, but I think
Christina needs a minute.
I'm fine. I do want to test actually if we could hear somebody from the public on Zoom, just the audio. So
Would do that for you?
sorry.
Maybe Tanya would do that for you.
Sound is working.
Okay, I just somebody on Zoom, if you could raise your hand, and Kelly, if you could just say hello, and if we could hear you.
Okay, am I on?
Kelly, you're probably talking. So let's just take a few minutes break, and we'll
3-minute break. Okay, thank you. We'll be right back.
Kelly, Kelly, are you talking?
I'm trying, Christina. Can you hear me? Christina, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. All right. Did you just turn yourself on?
No, I've been unmuted. I've been unmuted the whole time. I'm not sure what changed.
Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Just turn it down.
You should control it. Yeah.
This means I turned that thing away.
Oh. Sorry, you can turn the camera off for a few seconds. Oh my God, now the other one's working.
That it's been work. I don't know.
But the sound and audio are not. Yeah, we're good. Let's just stick to the basics. You're doing your sound check. Kelly, can we do another sound check?
Check 1, 2. Sound check 1, 2.
We're good.
You can control the volume there.
Is this me controlling it?
Should be. I can turn it up a little bit here too. And then you won't know, because if you mute yourself, then this microphone, yeah, so this is the only mic we got going in here, that's the only sound we got in here, but the world can hear. But this is a. Yeah. Okay.
Picking up the noise. Oh, no, I don't think there's.
Yeah.
You tell it, tell her.
You can do live. Somebody wanted you, or somebody did. Holy crap. Somebody goes, I would like to amend the. We just go to. I don't want to know where it's from. Or I don't want to have to deal with it.
I know, right?
She can be, and it's like, what would be? Yeah. Just let you know that.
All right, we'll get started in just 1 minute. Just 1 minute, we're gonna get back and get started. All right, here we go. Now we're gonna go back to announcements. And now we're gonna go back to announcements. Item we're following, we're on item 7, and I'm going to ask our student trustee, James Vino, who just came from practice, to get his updates.
I already have a couple of updates for you all tonight. My first update is we had our annual career fair last Friday. We had 25 presenters, and they all had interactive presentations and challenges to educate the students about their field of work. Last week, we also started our academic course selection. We are excited to be picking classes for next year, and this is pretty fun because Terra Linda offers so many classes, so it's a fun choice. Friday is ASB election day for the 25-26 school year. This is an exciting time for ASB students and for everybody because we all have a little part in the leadership of our school. And then next week, ASB students have put together a super fun week. Next week, we have our March Madness 3v3 tournament for students and teachers.
Oh.
The same week, we have our March Madness Spirit Week. So be sure to dress up. And then at the end of the week, we have our rally during our 4th period tutorial. And then that Friday, we have our black light dance in the old gym. So that should be super fun.
Oh, I want to go there. Great. Thank you, Trustee Zeno. Great updates. Okay, now we are going to go to our union partners. So I see that Morgan's in the room. Would you like to go first?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Morgan Agnew, and I'm president of the San Rafael Federation of Teachers, representing certificated educators in the high school district. I want to start by welcoming Dr. Jason Lau to his first regular board meeting as a trustee. Thank you, Dr. Lau, for your willingness to serve our district and for sticking it out through a challenging appointment process. SRFT will have more to say about the process that led Dr. Lau to our board and our concerns that the board was prepared to spend nearly $100,000 of our students' money on a special election rather than reach consensus on an appointment. But we'll have to save those concerns for another meeting, and we'll instead focus our report tonight on Trustee Kerner's proposed resolution. The resolution itself will not be voted on tonight, but the topic remains on the agenda. And given the stir it has clearly caused, it must be addressed. SRFT is profoundly disappointed that the resolution was brought forward without any apparent consultation with teachers, administrators, counselors, psychologists, wellness coordinators, or any of the other district employees who work with our young men. Obviously, this resolution has stirred up a lot of anger, all of which could have been avoided if it had been vetted with more members of the school community. We would have told you about the important programs we already have to support our male students. The boys group at Madrone, Dudes and Donuts at TL, the Champion Men's Zone at SR, just to name a few. To be clear, SRFT absolutely values our young men, and we work tirelessly to ensure that all of our students get the support they need. But supporting young men and recognizing systemic gender inequalities are not mutually exclusive. Moreover, when we discuss how to support our students, we need to ground that conversation not in talking points, but in hard data about our students. How do our male and female students compare in terms of suspension rates, graduation rates, GPA, attendance, use of mental health support services, or any of the other dozens of metrics that we track? How do these gender differences intersect with differences based on race, class, or learning disability? We have that data literally down the hall, and its absence in this resolution is frankly telling. What is also telling is the timing of this resolution. To propose a resolution in recognition of men in the middle of Women's History Month and just 2 days after International Women's Day is at best tone deaf. SRFT supports all of our students, male, female, and non-binary. We know from our own data that there are many subgroups that are struggling in this district, and we support directing resources towards those subgroups. For example, we know that our English learners are struggling, so we've directed resources to hire community liaisons and ELD counselors and to start the Bridge program. If our male students are struggling, we should be able to see that in the data, and we can have constructive conversations about how best to support them. Our members are enthusiastically ready for those conversations, and many of our teachers, and our male teachers in particular, would be delighted to work with this board on the problems facing our young men. We may agree within that conversation that support could include a board resolution, but it won't be this one. Thank you.
Will be. Are you presenting? Okay. Thank you.
And I believe Tanya's online too. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Diaz-Geisels. I am Brianna Padilla, Venetia Valley Instructional Coach and Santa Fe Teachers Association's President, representing our early intervention through 8th grade educators this evening. SRTA would like to also formally welcome Trustee Lau to the San Rafael City Schools Board of Trustees. We look forward to collaborating with you and creating meaningful opportunities that support our students, our educators, and the broader San Rafael City Schools community. We would also like to publicly thank Trustee Daniela Marsh and Trustee Rodas for your transparency, character, and commitment to education and the SRCS community that was demonstrated at the February 10th special meeting. In addition to echoing what Mr. Agnew has shared this evening, we would like to emphasize the words equity, community, and joy that carry weight beyond the 3 seconds that it takes to utter those words. These words are not just fleeting concepts, but guiding principles that shape the way that our students, that we support our students and one another. These 3 words define the kind of learning and work environment that we strive to create and be in every day. In reviewing the agenda for this evening, the proposed resolution in recognition of the essential role and needs of young men in society, there were questions that were immediately raised about the context and the motive as soon as the agenda was published. Inquiries came from within the SRTA community, from parents and families, colleagues, and the broader San Rafael City Schools community. So in addition to striving to strengthen an inclusive and equitable and joyful community, SRTA values productive conversations, transparency, and actively dismantling oppressive systems without disparaging subgroups of our community. Exclusion and divisive discourse is counterproductive and has absolutely no place in education, or the rooms in which we have conversations or take actions for education. We urge the board to consider both the timing and the broader implications of this resolution, ensuring that clear context is provided, the language is thoughtfully rewritten, and that the statement reflects a more inclusive approach. SRTA has a continued interest in building and reinforcing bridges between students, staff, leadership, and the community at large. Parity across student groups, school sites, student access and experiences, also working conditions, budget decisions, and the resources is essential to fostering an equitable, thriving, and joyful educational community. Ensuring consistency in support, opportunities, and treatment across all facets of education helps create a system where every student, educator, staff, and community member is valued and can succeed regardless of their demographic descriptor. Thank you.
We have CSCA, we have Tanya. Tanya, you should be able to start your video and unmute yourself and begin.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, can everyone hear me? Perfect. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Geisels. My name is Tanya Morales, and I am the CSCA Chapter President for San Rafael Chapter 341. We would like to begin tonight by welcoming Dr. Jason Lau to our school board, and we look forward to working with you in a manner that will continue the collaborative work that we have done up until now. We would also like to thank both Trustee Geneva Marsh and Trustee Rodas for the support shown to all of your stakeholders at the February board meeting. Your commitment to our students and community was transparent. CFA would also like to address Trustee Kerner's resolution. I'm not going to say too much because I think my fellow union siblings, Ms. Padilla and Mr. Agnew, covered it pretty much well. But I do want to say that we are disappointed that this resolution was brought forward, not only because of the timing of what day, what month we're in, but because of the language in the resolution did not represent our core values that are right behind you guys: equity, community, and joy. Instead, we feel it promotes divisiveness and exclusion during a time where we need to be united to do what it is best for all of our students and families. I respectfully invite that conversations be had with all stakeholders, students, families, communities, administrators, and labor unions to come up with strategies that will best serve our students in their education. We all have a different lens, and coming together will ensure that we create the best learning and working environment for our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like now to go with our trustees, and Trustee Lau, as I said, you get the honor of going first on your first day. So yes.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, first of all, happy Women's History Month. I want to acknowledge that right off the bat. And I really want to sincerely thank you, a fellow trustee, for the hard work they put together throughout the interview application process, especially right after the new year. And I know that we also under a 60-day tight timeline. So I know a lot of hard work that you put in together. So I really appreciate the amount of work and effort that you have done. I actually met afterward the other the other candidate personally, He's highly qualified and lots of involvement and support to the district. So I knew that it's a real difficult situation that you have to make. So at the end, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm grateful for being here. I know it's not a entitlement or right, but it's a privilege to serve all of you here. As a courtesy, I also reached out to Lucia. I thank her for serving the 2-year term and also welcoming her for any feedback that you could have, she could give me in the future to serve the remainder of the 2 years term that she earned at the time. I also want to thank the district and the staff. You have really made this process really welcoming and warm. I don't think I could have done it without your support, getting my ID card, getting all the binders, all the things put together. So thank you so much for making that possible. I was at the district check-in meeting on Friday. Thank you, Bob, for introducing me to everyone and really seeing everyone in the room and all the energy, all the work that the district is doing for our students is just truly amazing. Also, I have an opportunity to stop by St. Pedro Elementary School on Friday the 28th, invited by the principal, Ray Mayola, and also the vice principal, Helen Weibel. They did an amazing job putting the celebration for the Black History Month assembly at the school. I learned a lot about hip hop from generation to generation. I think what amazing is the partnership we have with the youth in art. Mr. Dennis and Mr. Torrance did a great job really teaching everyone, bringing all the energy to the room and learning how to dance and move. So it's just amazing experience to start off my term as a new trustee. And also learned from Ms. Weibel that her son actually and my daughter was the little buddies when they were at Lucas Valley Elementary School. So it's a small world to kind of find that connection. So it was a great experience. So thank you.
Thank you so much, trustee. Yeah, glad you're here. Okay, trustee Rhoda.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm happy to acknowledge International Women's Day and the effort that all women do to better our communities. It should go without saying that all women are essential to the intellectual might of the workplace, schools, and composition of the American democratic society. I recognize the indefeatability and tenacity women have had to show to be recognized, and for that I am happy and proud to recognize Women's History Month. Almost 2 months ago, Dr. Lau appeared on my email chain. It has been a turbulent road, I must say, Dr. Lau, but I'm happy to see you on our board. I recognize the leadership and wisdom you bring to our board, and nonetheless would like to acknowledge Mr. Moavani for his dedication to education and the spirit of public service he showed. I'm grateful that today our board is composed of critical thinking individuals and to its 5 strong composure. Dr. Luau, I'm certain that not only your past, but also your future contributions to our city's education system will be valuable. On February 26th, I had the opportunity to travel to Sacramento with the Joint Legislative Action Committee meeting with the Marin County Office of Education, where we sat with Senator Mike McGuire, where he acknowledged state level matters regarding school budgeting. He also mentioned that California is growing at an exponential rate with the 3.7% GDP growth outpacing all but 3 states, ranking as the 5th strongest economy in the world. Assembly member and Representative Damon Connolly and the Assistant Superintendent for the state of California discussed major housing initiatives that could be potentially pioneered by school districts to address the state's and San Rafael housing needs. I look forward to attending the reclassification ceremony and being at my original place of education, San Pedro Elementary School, this upcoming week. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Rhoda. Great. Trustee Marsh.
Yes. Good evening, trustees, staff, community members, both in person and online. Welcome, Trustee Lau, to our governing team. I'm looking very much forward to working together in partnership. And I also want to extend additional thanks to Mr. Moavani. It is I remember during my appointment process, it is brave and courageous to even step forward to volunteer and to go through such a public process. And I'm so excited that Mr. Moravani is still wanting to be engaged and as a volunteer, as a parent and an active community member. Over the past few weeks, I've had the opportunity to engage in several important events focused on education, equity, and leadership. On February 25, I attended the San Rafael City Schools Committee on Culture, Equity, and Belonging, where we continued discussions on fostering an inclusive and supportive school environment for all students. On February 26, I also joined Trustee Rodas as well as Trustee Kerner and former student trustee Penelope Carroll for the Joint Legislative Advisory Committee, or JLAC, Action Day in Sacramento. And I know there's a lot of acronyms, but I think the key part is that this is an opportunity every year. Not every school district or county really invests in someone to help be this pipeline of policy and understanding from Sacramento to our local school districts. So for us to have face-to-face with Assembly Member Colin Connolly, State Senator Mike McGuire, and other folks up there, really be sharing what's happening. I'm very proud that Novato Unified School District and San Rafael City School District had student trustees at this event. So it's great to work in partnership. Looking forward to next year's Advocacy Day. And I hope that more student trustees would be able to participate. On March 2nd, I participated in the Marin Teen Girl Conference. I love visuals. The Marin Teen Girl Conference, where San Rafael City school students played key leadership roles. So congratulations to Annie Carmona, Annie Hamill, Addie Marsh, Samantha Mazariegos, and Claudia Velasquez for organizing such a powerful event with other fellow Marin Teen Girl ambassadors. I was deeply honored to moderate a career panel and join a workshop with fellow elected women sharing our paths to public service. On March 4, the Marin Women's Hall of Fame had an opportunity to share my personal journey. As when we have events like this, it's more than an event. It's capturing Marin women's history. And it was events like this as a young person where I felt called to see myself in Marin history, that I can make an impact and eventually run for office. So that was an exciting moment to be able to share that in front of others. And finally, on March 7, I attended the Marin Women's Political Action Committee's 21st Annual Elected Women's Luncheon, Courage and Conviction, alongside President Martin, where San Rafael City school students were recognized for their leadership. So I want to say a deeply congratulations to Yasuara Alvarez, Arlene Guzman, Kelly Martinez de Leon, and Candice Lucas on their well-deserved honor. Thank you, and I look forward to working in partnership and community together. End of report.
Thank you, Trustee Daniela Marsh. Okay, Trustee Kerner.
First of all, welcome. We're very glad to have you here and very happy things turned out the way it did. So welcome, and we look forward to the rest of the school year with you. And beyond that. Also, I will be pulling the resolution 242545 from vote and use the time after public comment to clarify the resolution. So I want to get back that time because obviously there are lots of folks who want to talk about this and give input, which I think is great. I also joined the fellow board members in Sacramento. We took a day for the JLAC event. MCOE, thank you for putting and pulling that together. They really did everything and made sure that we were comfortable there. It was wonderful to spend time with other board members from other districts. I got to meet a lot of good folk in the district, and also the various legislators and legislative staff in Sacramento. When we have other issues that come up within our district, we now know better who we can reach out to for certain issues. So I found that to be super helpful. And then also, thank you for staff and faculty for being helpful during the flu season. This kids, please stay safe. I lost my student lost almost 2 weeks due to the flu, but I think that the school has been very good at allowing those students to be able to figure out a way to stay engaged. So as much as you can, don't get sick. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Kerner. I just wanted to say I was excited to join events with Trustee Daniela Marsh. And I wanted to open and say that, yes, I did see people that sit in our spaces, and some individuals asked because they did see the election or the appointment. And I'm so happy Trustee Lau with us. And I also want to thank Mr. Movani. And I do want to share that some people think that that wasn't transparent. That was transparent. You saw us disagreeing and you saw us agreeing. And so I think what I love about our united board is that we are open to having hard conversations in public and in private rooms. And so I want to thank my peers here for being amazing, resilient, brave, and we care and support each other greatly. And so for those questions I received over the last couple of weeks, I can say that I'm very proud to be on this board and supporting each other. I also want to say, I want to thank everyone for their communication. I tried to respond to as many emails I got as possible. And if I didn't get to you, I saw that I have more and I will try. So just please know that. I also want to thank the facilities committee, Trustee Kerner and I. What a great team. You are looking at that budget. You're looking at the impact of all of our schools. Every school is happy, even though there's pauses and goes. And thank you for sharing your possible concern of things that might rise in cost and how you're already getting ahead of it and how you're talking to all our community areas about the pool or the field. So I really want to thank the facilities committee for all of their hard work. And with that, I just want to always lead with good intent and know that this team is working really hard. So thank you for being here with us tonight. And I will pass it to our superintendent.
Just to be really brief, welcome, Dr. Lau. We're very excited to have you here and working with us. We attended and facilitated the PTA Parent Council meeting, so it's nice to see some faces that were online on that meeting this past week. And also we had the Marin Realtors tour in Venetia Valley, and our principal, Mr. Oseguera, did a great job in leading tours around around Venetia Valley. I also had the opportunity to be at Vidya Vista for a day to visit the school sites and the campuses and enjoy the teachers and seeing the instructional learning that's going on in our classrooms. And next, the 26th, I will be at Carolina High School for the day. So I'm looking forward to popping into some classrooms. That's all I have.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so now I'm going to read now this is public comment, and just a reminder, the board cannot respond on public comment. And I believe we have quite a few. Do you know how many we have on Zoom so we can get a number? Just so the public knows, we have 20 minutes in our board governance. I'm willing to push it to 30 minutes if we need to, and we will use 2-minute comments. Is that okay with the board? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will extend to 30 if we need to, and everyone has 2 minutes for public comment. Is that?
Yeah, those on Zoom can use the raise hand feature. I'm seeing some pop up. Again, those on Zoom can use the raise hand feature for public comment.
All righty, so I'm going to call your names. So, and please forgive me if I do not say your name correctly. Usually everyone says Carolina, so I get it, you know, Carolina or Carolina. So, all right, first we have Susanna, is it Barber? Oh, welcome. Thank you for being here. Yeah,
Thanks so much.
and just so everyone knows, Christina will start the timer and she'll let you know who's never done this before. Okay.
Thanks so much. My name is Susanna Barber. I'm a mom to a teal freshman who actually plays JV baseball with James Vino. So that was fun to see James up there. And I have a 5th grader at Mary Silvera. In my day job, I'm also a labor negotiator. So I understand the importance of a transparent relationship with your labor organizations. And I applaud your labor organizations for being here tonight and speaking against this resolution. I really sincerely hope that this board takes proactive steps to repair relationships with their labor partners here tonight, because I do think this resolution was very ill-conceived and done not in a partnership way. If there are, again, I'm not going to reiterate what these folks here, they are the subject matter experts. They really know what the issues are that are impacting these students, and it just frankly felt it was weird. That was everybody I spoke to about this resolution. Everybody said, this is just weird. What is this language? It was very hard to ignore the parallels between JD Vance's speech a couple weeks ago and the language in the resolution. Even though he's now said he's going to pull the item from the agenda, he does want to use time to discuss the resolution after public comment. I believe he should justify why he put the resolution on prior to public comment, so we have an opportunity to respond to that. Thank you.
And just a reminder, we cannot comment, so even though we might want to, just. All right, next we have Terry. Thank you. Weiss. I got the Weiss right. The little part.
Everybody messes it up.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
evening, and I accidentally erased part of this, so it's gonna sound really wonky, but I'll try to repair along the way. Hello, my name is Terry Bleiweiss. I'm the parent of 2 students at Terra Linda High School. I'm here tonight because I am concerned about Resolution 242544. My experience in the San Rafael City Schools has been overwhelmingly positive, and I've found the teachers and administration very responsive. My kids feel supported and feel their teachers are genuinely interested in their success. I bring this up because my son started his first 2 years of high school outside the district and had a very unsatisfactory experience. I was surprised by this resolution. It was written as if there is a systemic problem in the district, which is leaving young men behind. I understand young men nationwide are struggling in ways that are unique to their demographic, but their struggle is not due to gender inequality. I urge the board to vote against this resolution now or in the future. I've served on committees that drafted school board resolutions. The process requires data, community input, and goals. This resolution lacks all of those things and only serves to strike a nerve. It has a divisive, sexist tone. San Rafael City Schools has a strategic plan called Together 2024, which addresses the needs of all students. Together 24 used metrics that included student surveys and test scores in the plan. This resolution discounts all the data and hard work that went into that plan. I can't think of a better way to lower educator morale and community trust. If there is a legitimate issue and young men are not being supported in school, let's address that with compassion and make sure it's not at the expense of other students. Thank you for serving on this board, and thank you for considering my position on why this resolution is a bad idea.
Next I have Ross Miller-ish.
Hello, Rick. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ross. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. I've served on the Nevada School Board for 3 decades. I'm done with that service. I know some of you well because of other relationships. I have 2 granddaughters, one at Davidson and one at Coleman. This is important to me. And I saw this resolution and I thought, this doesn't show the strong reflective work that the San Rafael Unified School, the San Rafael School District does. And I request that it get referred back to the superintendent and go back for a committee for the development of the backup data and a plan and some more thorough review. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I'm starting to recognize some of these names that I was responding to today. Okay, now I have, is it Zoe?
Zoe, yeah, thank you.
Zoe, bye.
Bye.
Hi, thank you, Zoe.
Thank you, trustees and superintendent. My name is Zoe Bai, and I'm a parent of 2 children, a daughter at Sun Valley Elementary and a son at Trinity Preschool. I truly believe that everyone in the room deeply cares about the needs of young men. I have a son, and I certainly do. I also believe that as a board member, it may seem counterintuitive to vote no on this resolution. I can understand the concern or even fear that your no vote, your potential no vote, will be misinterpreted by the community that you've been elected to represent as a statement of your rejection of the needs of young men. I just thought somebody today should say that I believe that no one in this room will interpret a no vote that way. And I believe that most of your constituents will in good faith not interpret a no vote as a rejection of the needs of young men. My fear is that approving this resolution will kick off a cascade of increasingly personal opinion driven or personal observation driven school board resolutions or actions that threaten to divide our community, exhaust our community, and siphon all of your and all of our energy away from areas that are much more important. We've seen similar situations in other school boards and school communities across the country in the last few years. And I'm scared that that's going to happen here, and I don't want that to happen here. To focus on the matter at hand today, without providing evidence of a direct educational impact, my understanding is that this proposed resolution is not relevant to education and therefore extends beyond the scope of the role of the school board as defined by Board Policy 1000, which I admit you would know much better than me, but I've done some research. So I ask that if it comes up again, that you please reject the resolution on these grounds. Thank you very much.
Next I have Carmen Powell.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Carmen Dow, and I'm the mother of a son who's in TK at Sun Valley and a daughter who's in second Sun Valley. I'm also one of the co-presidents of our PTO. The resolution put forth by Mark Kroner is insensitive at best, and at worst driven by a personal and political agenda. Given the lack of data and clear absence of the consideration of equity, one of the board's stated values, I not only encourage scrutiny of this resolution, I also invite question of the motivations of Trustee Kroner and his fitness to serve as an elected official of this board. The students, families, schools, and the communities served by the Board of Education deserve policies that are backed by data, inclusive of the needs of all children, and devoid of personal opinion and interest. Proposing a resolution that does not call for action is ineffective, wastes our resources, and appears to be a test to see if anyone is paying attention. I assure you, we are paying attention and we expect better.
Okay, Melissa Miller.
I brought my dad.
Oh.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Millerick. I'm both a teacher and a parent in this district. I teach math at Terra Linda High School, and I have my children go to Coleman and Davidson. And I think everyone in this room can agree that we want young men in our community to feel uplifted in our schools, to feel belonging in the classroom, to be inspired by challenging curriculum, to see themselves represented in text, and to see enough multiple representations outside of their experiences to learn critical thinking and empathy. The issue with the resolution was that it sought to uplift young men. The issue was that it disparaged women and erased our trans and gender non-conforming youth. How could a district that values equity pass a gender resolution without recognizing our gender non-conforming students? Further, this resolution made broad generalizations without providing specifics. I'm curious what the data shows. How does the gender gap present within our district? What does the disaggregated data of our CASP and iReady scores show? Our D and F lists, our AP and honors enrollment, our special ed, our ELD populations. Thank you for considering the complexity of this issue and moving to study it further before deciding board action.
Great. Okay, I have Tina, is it Milton? Welcome, Tina.
Trustees. I'm reading this on behalf of my friend Matt, who is actually at the fire station right now, so he's not able to attend. As a member of the Terra Linda community, who arguably but understandably would be labeled as toxically masculine, I am confused as to the point of this proposal. I am a straight, white, middle-aged combat veteran firefighter who has been a resident of Terra Linda for 17 years. Prior to that, I was a low-income troubled youth raised in a single-parent latchkey household in San Francisco, the product of a single welfare mother with multiple jobs, raised in a low-income neighborhood with a troubled younger brother. I learned to be toxic at a very young age. I dropped out of school, joined the military along with hundreds of other toxically masculine young men, served in Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. Since 1997, I have been a firefighter surrounded by toxically masculine coworkers. I am aware of the environmental, emotional, and psychological factors that can contribute to the toxic environment that leads to toxic masculinity and the effects it can have on young men and their friends and families. I'm aware of the negative effects of toxic masculinity on young men who develop it and the communities that are affected by it. I am aware of the long-term impact that can result from toxic masculinity and its influence in society. I am also aware that not all men or young men are toxically masculine. What I am not aware of are any significant instances of the term toxic masculinity detracting from constructive dialogues aimed at supporting and understanding the challenges and positive attributes of young men. It seems to me that we are creating an issue of a non-issue. I have found that while the term toxic masculinity definitely does not reflect the vast majority of men, it does accurately reflect the vast majority of men it is applied to. Maybe we as parents simply need to teach our children to know when the term applies to us on a personal level. The term racist shouldn't reflect the vast majority of people, and we shouldn't be personally offended by it unless it is directed at us.
That's
In
fine.
which, okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, now I have Doug Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. My name is Doug Kelly. I'm a former San Anselmo City Council member and a board member of the Coalition of Sensible Taxpayers. I'm here to address some concerns regarding the proposed Oak Village workforce housing project. The Village at Oak Hill project consists of 135 units divided between the County of Marin, which will receive 25% of the units, and the schools, which will receive 75%. As stakeholders, you will soon be asked to participate in this project, which involves guaranteeing rents over a period of 30 to 35 years. Your level of participation will determine the financial obligations you incur. Specifically, you'll be required to cover the cost of vacancies annually. For instance, if a 3-bedroom unit remains vacant for 5 months, the school district would be responsible for approximately $20,000 for that single unit. The development team argues that this financial setup is necessary to shift the risk from bondholders to the schools, thereby reducing the $17.4 million funding gap by approximately $10 million. However, this approach places a considerable financial burden on educational institutions. Funds intended for educational purposes should not be diverted to a housing project, particularly one that may not primarily benefit your staff. An example of potential pitfalls can be seen in the Marin Crossing project at Sonoma State University, where significant vacancies occurred until the management opened the project to the public. Currently, less than 20% of the units are occupied by SSU staff. Schools, especially those already grappling with limited resources and budget cuts, cannot afford to engage in such risky financial venture. The current funding structure places undue pressure on educational budgets, which should prioritize student learning and support services. I urge you to think hard about participating in the Oak Hill Workforce Housing Project. It is crucial that the Marin County Public Financing Authority and the developers present a revised plan that does not jeopardize the financial stability of our schools. Until such assurances are provided, I advise rejecting participation in this project. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. And clarify.
That item, it should have been during the non-agendized items of public comment, but I believe the board is okay with that item now.
No, thank you so much.
They'll give us our 2 minutes back.
Okay, all right, next I have Tracy Peck. Hold on, thank you.
Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Diaz-Geisel. Just a comment on Trustee Martine's opening statement on the communications around this resolution getting in the way of impactful work by the board. I can't think of anything more impactful related to our district and our board's work than ensuring we are meeting the needs of all of our students and keeping divisive personal and political opinions out of it. My name is Tracy Holcomb. I am the mother of 3 children, 2 sons who attend Holman Elementary and a 20-month-old daughter. I'm here to express my strong opposition and deep concern to the resolution proposed by Trustee Kerner in recognition of the essential role and needs of young men in society. I think we all know what the title is at this point. The main role and responsibility of a school board trustee per Board Policy 1000 is to represent the community and provide leadership in addressing community issues related to education. Without providing evidence or relevance to direct educational impact, as well as evidence of this resolution being representative of your individual district and our school district as a whole, this proposed resolution is a statement of personal observations and opinion of Trustee Kerner. This calls into serious question the intentions and motivations behind proposing Resolution 242544. I would appreciate clarity around how he has engaged his district community, measured and collected data on this proposed resolution as being representative of the individuals in the district he was elected to serve and our district as a whole. As mentioned earlier, being a mother of 2 sons, of course I want them to have their educational and emotional needs met in order to grow up to be successful, thriving, independent, contributing individuals to society. With the school district's core values being community, equity, and joy, the language in this proposed resolution is misaligned and problematic at best, intentional and divisive at worst. Regardless, it is in stark contrast to the core values that are on the board behind you. If the goal is to uplift and empower our youth to become successful adults in our community, something we can and should all agree on, this resolution should be focused on how we make progress towards the goal for all of our students in an equitable way, not by pitting one group in our community against another, nor excluding any group of students in our district, including our non-gender conforming students. Thank you.
I'm actually brand new. I only knew about the resolution half an hour ago. On next door, I was having dinner and I read about it. And so I looked at the wording and as I really couldn't understand the wording and it just didn't feel good. And so I just walked over there. I'm a neighbor and wanted to ask a question because I didn't see any action on that resolution. It was all about these weird young men that have these weird problems. I have 2 teenage grandsons, very proud of 2 teenage granddaughters. They didn't fit in that language either. And I especially didn't know if this resolution would pass, what would the actions be? So I am not for this weirdly worded resolution. And I hope we can clarify it and really do something for all our young people.
Thank you.
Good evening, trustees and superintendent. My name is Ann Levinson, and I'm here this evening to voice my concerns regarding the resolution number 2425-44 proposed by School Board VP Mark Kerner. In your own words, Trustee Martine, this resolution is distracting from doing the important work of the board. It has also wasted a huge amount of parents' time and energy as well. However, this is a mess of the board's making since this ill-conceived and ill-written resolution was proposed by one of your own board members. What is the process by which a resolution is submitted for board consideration and vote? I would recommend you revisit and revise your process to avoid future problematic resolutions making their way onto the agenda for future board meetings. When I read the proposed resolution, I was very confused and very concerned. What is this resolution supposed to do? What was the purpose in drafting and putting it forward for a vote? The lack of clarity of the goal of the resolution, the lack of the supporting data and studies is problematic. The resolution as it's written is unacceptable, and small tweaks to the language will not make it an appropriate resolution to adopt. As a mother of 2 boys in the San Rafael City Schools, I have a very deep desire and a personal connection to supporting boys and young men so they thrive in our San Rafael City Schools and grow into confident, successful, caring, and healthy and happy adults and leaders in their communities. Although my 2 children are both boys, I also understand the importance of providing support and opportunities for all children, regardless of their gender, race, ethnicity, religion, disability, and other subgroups, so that every student in our San Rafael City Schools are set up to thrive at school and after they graduate. I hope that we all in this room can agree that we have a responsibility to uplift and support all children, including but not limited to boys.
Time.
Hi, I am just going to take a couple minutes of your time, but I just wanted to show up and just echo the crowd. I don't think there's anything that I can say that hasn't already been covered that I don't vehemently agree with, but I just wanted to express my dissent and my disapproval of the resolution that's been put forward as a mother of a first grade girl. It was just deeply problematic and concerning. I think I'm not the only one that this was the first meeting that it drove me to show up to. I don't think it will be the last that I show up to. But I think that, yeah, this has not been my experience of the school district at all. So to say that I was surprised is just an enormous understatement. I've experienced so far nothing but equity, community, and joy in my experience with Santa Fe City Schools. And so it struck like a very panicky, like deep chord in my heart and my spirit, knowing that we have a long way to go in the district and a long time ahead of us. And if this is kind of like the direction that we're starting to move of kind of these divisive, politicized agendas, that's something as a parent that's like very, very deeply concerning. So with that, I want to yield my time to someone else. Thanks.
Me again. Back. 2 minutes. Here we go. Jacqueline Devereaux, 4 kids, 3 at Laurel Dell. Although I have no evidence to the contrary, as an elected representative of the Laurel Dell PTA, I am aware of my responsibility and duty to make an essential distinction to ensure that I do not abuse the power of my elected position and misrepresent a consensus that I do not have. The resolution is clearly one person's opinion devoid of evidence and educational impact. So whereas the resolution renders itself irrelevant to education, be it further resolved that it is inappropriate and illogical for consideration of the SRCS Board of Education. I will comment on the problematic and continuous pattern that Trustee Kerner continues to display, whereas he abuses his power and position of influence, whereas he consistently puts his own personal interests above a consensus, whereas he detracts from the education of all students, which is a most basic sworn duty of a trustee. Due to time limitations, I only quickly reference March 25th of last year when he shared harmful and erroneous rhetoric related to hate speech, suggesting that the word hate in itself creates speech in a written policy. Last month, when he, along with Trustee Martin, voted for the new trustee, Dr. Lau, thank you for being here, and based on their personal interests, which contradicted the consensus of the unanimous consensus of the labor partners, public comment, and ultimately the other candidate who dropped out, at least modeling to them how to put the community ahead of personal aspirations. So whereas Trustee Kerner continues to his proven record of violating board bylaw 9200, whereas holding his own personal interest over his elected responsibility to represent his constituents, whereas, and especially in matters he proposes that are irrelevant to education, now, therefore, be it resolved that I hope Trustee Kerner has enough personal interest in his own integrity to resign and at least save the community effort of a recall to find someone who can perform the most basic requirements.
We do. We have about 7 hands raised at the moment.
Okay, great. What time are we at?
It's 8:01.
We started at
It started at 7:36.
what? We have 10 minutes? Okay. All right.
Would you like to go to Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, so we have Emily H. Emily, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Hello. I would just like to say that I am absolutely appalled by the timing of this resolution. It feels like a slap in the face. To me, toxic masculinity means just taking a critical look at the harmful ways our society teach men how to be men. It is for the benefit of men and women. And I would just like to send this personal message to Mr. Kerner. My senior daughter at TL will not be silenced. If she is impacted by toxic masculinity, she is going to name it and call it that, and no one's going to stop her. That's all.
Thank you so much for coming.
Next, we have Tammy E. Tammy, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Hi, Tammy Edmondson. Trustee Kerner's divisive resolution is based on a patently false claim that men and boys in our community and society are critically disadvantaged emotionally, educationally, and financially. check your facts. In terms of power, 105 years since women won the vote, we still have yet to see a woman president. More than 70% of congressional representatives, cabinet members, and governors today are men. 2/3 of household wealth in this country is held by men. Women working full-time earn 84 cents on every dollar earned by a man. 83% of US billionaires are men. 90% of Fortune 500 companies are headed by men. And about safety and security, the evidence shows that teen girls experience harassment and danger at school at vastly higher rates than teen boys. And these disadvantages are magnitudes worse for women of color. The fiction of American male fragility in this resolution is an insult to the young men and women in our district and a politicized distraction from the serious issues our board should be focusing on. Every student should be acknowledged and supported, but before we single out one group for special care, let's see where the needs actually are. The evidence shows that race and socioeconomic status are the primary predictors of student outcomes in this district, not gender. The 70% of our students who are Latinx are also typically economically disadvantaged, and many are also English learners. These students are failing to meet state learning standards at double or more the rate of the district's white students, and that is what real disadvantage looks like. Thank you.
We have Cheyenne H. Cheyenne, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Good evening. My name is Cheyenne Hakala. I'm a teacher at Coleman Elementary School, and I'm a survivor of suicide. In 2021, my younger brother Chris passed after struggling with mental health issues for over 10 years. This profound loss has led me to ask, what were the resources and support he needed during his struggles? I'm writing to request the clarification on Resolution 2425-44. Specifically, I would like to understand how preventative measures and interventions like safety planning, crisis response, and lethal means counseling will be implemented at the school and community levels. How will the resolution support education programs to help students identify and replace maladaptive coping mechanisms, recognize signs of depression and suicidal behavior, and monitor mental health over time? How will we work together, to reduce the stigma around mental health? Additionally, what parent education services will be provided to support our students? These listed are tools essential to saving lives and preventing tragedies like my brother's. I urge the board to ensure that the resolution includes clear action steps and fosters collaboration to create a comprehensive safety net for all students before further action is taken. Thank you for your time.
We have Greg W. Greg, you can unmute yourself and begin. Greg W., can you hear us? You can unmute yourself and begin.
Sorry about that. Good evening, trustees. My name is Greg Waters, and I'm a resident of District 2, as well as a parent of a son at Davidson and a daughter at Coleman. I'm concerned about Trustee Corner's proposed resolution on the essential role and needs of young men in society, and I have many questions regarding its necessity. Upon researching this resolution, I was unable to find other school boards in California that have adopted a similar stance. This raises the question, why focus exclusively on young men rather than addressing the needs of just all the students? More concerning, the language of the resolution seems very divisive. It just frames gender discussions in an adversarial way, implying that young men and SRCS are under attack and in need of protection from being fixed by women. A resolution meant to support young men should not do that at the expense of women, nor should it present gender discussions as a conflict. Why even use that kind of language? The school board and its policy should foster inclusivity, equity, and understanding, not amplify division. It is essential that we ensure all students, regardless of gender, have access to resources, support, and opportunities they need to thrive. I respectfully ask Trustee Cormer to clarify why he believes this resolution is necessary, what prompted its creation, and how it aligns with the educational mission of SRCS. School board should prioritize policies that ensure that every student has the opportunity to succeed. We must focus on creating solutions that truly support all students and uphold our core values of equity, community, and joy. This evening, I seek further clarification on how this proposed resolution fits within these values and what considerations were made regarding its impact on all student groups. As school board members, your commitment should foster an environment where every student can thrive. I urge you to consider whether this resolution may inadvertently misalign with the idea of inclusivity and student success. We are all in this together. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Fred. Next, I believe about 5 minutes. Great. Next, we have Lisa C. Lisa, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Hello, my name is Lisa Cummings, and I am a teacher at Terra Linda High School. This proposed resolution is problematic and based on flawed language. In today's political climate, where women's rights are under attack and minority students face rising anti-immigrant rhetoric, this resolution dismisses the real struggles of many of our children and implies that young men are uniquely disadvantaged. The mention of toxic masculinity appears reactionary rather than an acknowledgement of legitimate conversations about gender norms. The term does not condemn men, but critiques harmful expectations that negatively impact both men and women. The high suicide rates among young men, a valid concern, should be analyzed in a broader context. Mental health experts point to social isolation, stigma against seeking help, and untreated mental illnesses as primary contributors. Toxic masculinity and the restraints it places on young men are directly related to male suicide, as societal expectations discourage emotional expression and vulnerability, leading many of our boys to suffer in silence. The logic of this resolution is flawed. The claim that young men are in critical condition educationally and emotionally ignores the broader context of post-pandemic academic declines, which have affected all students, not just young men. Many studies attribute falling test scores to lost instructional time, economic insecurity, the emotional toll of isolation, and the increasing influence of social media, which has reshaped attention spans, learning habits, and mental well-being. Education should foster critical thinking and address uncomfortable truths. Just as teaching about racism aims for a more informed society, discussions on gender norms, including toxic masculinity, are essential for growth. They're not attacks on men. Schools must engage with difficult topics to prepare students for a complex world, and shielding young men from these discussions harms them. This resolution is regressive and must be rejected. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Lindsay H., you can unmute yourself and begin.
Thank you. My name is Lindsay Holtaway. I'm the parent of a Sun Valley student as well as an incoming Sun Valley student. I have a son and a daughter. I'm also a board member of our Public Education Foundation, Heads Up, and I need to make it clear that I'm not speaking on behalf of the board tonight. These comments are my own. I think most of the points about Resolution 2425-44 have been made already tonight, but I just want to highlight the language itself is exclusionary. It's defining boys and girls. We're completely not acknowledging our non-binary and transgender students. My second grader and I read through the resolution earlier this evening, and she clocked it immediately. Mom, what about the they thems? That's not just boys and girls. The second issue that I take with it is that it's purely performative. And I would call this the equivalent in my tech job of a vanity metric. There's no actual impact. There's no path forward. There's no meaningful action tied to this resolution besides taking issue with a phrase, the phrase toxic masculinity, which hurts boys and men just as much as it hurts other genders in our community. And lastly, I want to echo the comments of the folks who came before. I am so frustrated that this is how we're spending our time at our school board meetings. This is embarrassing. On the wall behind our board members are our values of equity, community, and joy. And if we do not fundamentally understand as a school community the definition of equity, and if our school board members do not understand and speak fluently equity, what on earth are you doing on our school board? Thank you.
Another one. Next, we have Heidi. Heidi, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heidi, and I was raised in Marin, and I raised my son and my daughter here. I share your values of equity, community, and joy, which is why I am shocked to see the resolution before you tonight in recognition of the essential role and needs of young men in society. If you ensured that agenda items were in alignment with your values, this would have never made the cut. The resolution is offensive. When I read it, I thought it was a bad joke. It's a mockery of Women's History Month and International Women's Day and of male students. My husband and I raised a 19-year-old man who has integrity and knows that just by virtue of his gender, race, and sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, he is awarded unearned privileges. Mark's resolution is strange, as he, a man who works in tech and has been elected to a school board, is claiming that men are under attack and that their contributions to society are not being adequately recognized. Ridiculous. The resolution suggests that young men are the active targets of terms and language on a broad scale that is damaging their well-being, while using language that explicitly enforces binary gender categories and erases trans, non-binary, and gender nonconforming students. Far from supporting young men, as it claims, this resolution wields the idea of young men and their rights as an assault against all others, breaking down gains made toward creating a more equitable learning and social environment for our students in Marin, of which people of all genders have benefited from. If you really believe the values on the wall behind you, equity, community, and joy, and are willing to stand up for them, you will vote no tonight. And if Mark tries to bring this resolution back without the input that has been offered by all the unions, as he was the only trustee not taking notes when they were commenting, please say no again. Thank you.
Last one, but then we'll do, Bridget is next. Bridget, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Hi there, my name is Bridget. I'm a parent of a young boy at Coleman Elementary and a girl who will join in 2 short years. I'm joining the chorus of parent and community voicing concern around Resolution 242544. I'm disappointed in this resolution for many reasons. It's not backed by data informing why boys, who is a very large category of children, need special support over other groups of children. Is it intended to support the wide umbrella of children who are boys, including trans boys, Black and brown boys, newcomer boys? Each of these boys face unique circumstances and sets of challenges that require nuanced levels of support. There's no indication that this resolution is intent on supporting these boys. Instead, the language seems to pit the success of boys and girls against each other in a zero-sum game. And in referencing language that implies young men need to be fixed by women, even seems to blame girls and women for the supposed lack of support of boys. Plus, in pitting boys and girls against each other, the resolution reinforces a gender binary and erases students who do not fit neatly into these 2 descriptions of gender. The language is so broad as to be unclear in what it calls for, leaving open the possibility of, at best, uncharitable and at worst, nefarious interpretations. Lastly, this resolution is a blatant political signaling under the guise of a resolution, and as such is not appropriate for the adoption by the school board nor the distribution to all schools within the district. This resolution is a waste of time and only serves to obscure the actual challenges facing our students and our communities, including a lack of funding for education, systemic racism, the devastating impact of climate change, and equitable access to resources like housing, jobs, health, and mental health care. This resolution does nothing to address those needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everything we have to close, we still have 2 more hours of this meeting. And if you do have public comments, and you can email them to Communication, can you share the
Yes,
email?
it's communications@srcs.org. communications@srcs.org. And I'll put it in the chat for you.
Great, and we're gonna take about a 5-minute break. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll take a 5-minute break right now. Thank you.
How does the public see? I mean, somebody's comments. I was there.
Fantastic. The minute you switch to the online, it goes to that. Then you switch people to here, it goes to there. The camera switch.
So when I turn this on, it said.
And you went, I.
Yeah, I mean, a lot
How many windows can I have over there?
I was very impressed with them.
Yeah.
Here should be like a fire.
Never made a mistake. The Apple TV. I want to hardware. You don't want to PC. If I go hardware with the old engineering. Yes.
If Wi-Fi goes out, you're done. I mean, that is nothing.
Even some. Even some.
Thank you.
Boss, thank you for being 32% of the men who voted.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's
So, okay, I am. I think that's a great. New issue. You said that one day.
So much. Now we are going to, thank you so much. We're gonna get started. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. And now we're gonna go into, resolution, the discussion around resolution 2425-44. And there was a question, by someone in the room. Thank you so much to her for asking the question. And if you were not here earlier today, there was a conversation that this item will be pulled. But I still want to give the floor to my trustee Vice President Kerner. So with that, we're getting started, and thank you so much for being here. Okay, trustee Kerner.
So good evening, and thank you all for your comments. I want to provide some context regarding the resolution supporting young men and that was recently proposed. First, I want to sincerely thank everyone who voiced their concerns and offered feedback. Your engagement is stellar, it's valuable, it's essential for refining any resolutions that we have coming forward. So based on your feedback, as I mentioned before, it's clear to me moving forward with the vote is not appropriate at this time. Instead, my priority is to ensure everyone understands the origins and intent behind this proposal. So this resolution stemmed directly from public comment we received on April 15th, 2004. If you want to look at it specifically, there's a timestamp at 2050 in the recorded video, where concerns were raised about the growing challenges facing young men in our society. I felt it was important to address these concerns proactively. I thought good points were brought up, and it's something that I felt was important as well. So this isn't my first attempt to bring this issue to your attention. Last school year, I introduced a similar resolution, but ultimately pulled it back to make adjustments.
Excuse me, yes, thank you.
Unfortunately, progress stalled for many months. To reignite the conversation and move towards potential solution, I drafted language you see today, understanding what it was a starting point for discussion. It's very clear that we should have more input on this at this point. I'm open to revising language to address fears and concerns that have been raised, particularly regarding perceived ulterior motive. My aim is not to create a resolution that is to create a resolution that is inclusive and beneficial. The core reason I believe it's important to even have this conversation is that we cannot develop effective solutions if we ignore the underlying trends. I want to share just a sample of data points to highlight these challenges. This is by no means an exhaustive list. We are seeing significant decline in college graduation rates for men compared to women, which has long-term economic consequences. Young men are experiencing increased social isolation, spending considerably more time alone, which impacts their mental and social well-being. Alarmingly, young men are disproportionately affected by suicide, highlighting a serious mental health crisis. Workforce participation among young men is declining, representing a substantial number of men absent from the labor force compared to previous generations. And lastly, we see a persistent gap in high school graduation rates, with fewer boys graduating than girls each year, impacting their future opportunities. So I also want to directly address the main criticisms that have been raised. I understand the concerns about the resolution being considered during Women's History Month, and want to assure you there was absolutely no intention to diminish or overshadow the vital progress and achievement of women. That is opposite of my intent. Regarding the phrasing within the resolution itself, I recognize the terms used such as toxic masculinity have been problematic. I acknowledge that this term, and indeed any language that boxes in young men with a negative connotation, can be counterproductive and doesn't reflect the positive attributes and diverse experiences of young men. Furthermore, the phrasing that suggests young men need to be fixed by women is inadvertently undermine the mutual respect and quality I hope to foster. I understand that this reference was unhelpful, and a better approach is to simply emphasize that young men's inherent nature is not negative, but needs positive direction for the betterment of society. Ultimately, the resolution is not intended to detract from the progress of women. It is about recognizing the challenges facing young men and exploring how we can improve outcomes in our community together. I believe it is crucial that we approach this as a collaborative effort focused on mutual respect, progress for all of our students. I did pull together two, and I don't know where I share this, Carmen, but the works that cite this information and the challenges we have. There's about 22 different articles and 3 books. And these are just some of the points from where this came from. Again, the intention of this is to raise awareness to these issues and not to exclude anyone else. And I do apologize that it caused such a stir, and I don't want to waste everyone's time. So I really do appreciate all of you who reached out to me, and I left the number. Many of you called me back and had a conversation, which I think is great. I really appreciate that. I also encourage any of you to follow up afterwards as well, where I can explain it more. So I will leave it at that and let anyone else speak as well.
Well, and
I'm sorry, we can put the resources you mentioned in the board minutes.
yeah.
Okay.
And so thank you, Trustee Kerner. I would love to hear from the trustees and Trustee Lau. As you know, the tradition is the new person goes first, and if you'd like to pause.
Lucky you.
Can I actually yield, so not to be the first?
Yeah.
You can.
Let my
Yeah.
fellow trustees.
I can go ahead, Trustee Divina Marsh, if you.
By all means, Trustee Rodas.
Again, thank you for being here. In our district, we have made significant strides in promoting equity and celebrating the contributions of various student groups. However, in doing so, we must ensure that no group feels overlooked. Challenges and unforeseen circumstances are not exclusive to young men. Everyone faces unique challenges that deserve attention. I believe that a resolution acknowledging the roles of young men in partnership with young women and adjustments does not take away from the progress we have made as a district in supporting women, non-binary, and marginalized students. It simply ensures that young men are also recognized and supported. Supporting young men does not mean opposing support for women, LGBTQ+ students, or other groups. Rather, it aligns with district values of inclusion by addressing the specific needs of all students equitably. As a trustee of San Rafael City Schools, I do not wish that our city school board ever do something at the expense of others. I am proud to be an advocate for young men and all the people in Trustee Area 5 and the whole of SRCS constituents. Supporting a resolution like this one, with adjustments I might say, is an opportunity to build upon our district goals of joy, equity, and community. Recognizing the needs and struggles of young men should not be seen as a divisive issue. but as a natural continuation of our district's commitment to student success and academic rigor. The resolution has been pulled, but I will still urge my fellow trustees' continued motion for review of the language, not the concept of this resolution. I appreciate all the community members that took the time to send in public comment. I did take it into account and recognize that as a board member, my position is valuable in safeguarding district principles, but also would like to address the blanket statement that there is a conspiracy at the San Rafael City School Board to opening a gateway to allow for Trump MAGA policy agenda. That is simply not true. Thank you again, parents and community members, for your investment in this topic. I look forward to coming to a consensus that is bipartisan and that does not allow for a community member to feel less valued. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee. Let us, trustee Daniela Marsh.
I personally want to thank everyone who has written ahead of tonight's meeting, who has spoken in public comment both here and online. And I still highly encourage you to still keep asking your questions, communicate with us as a board. That is only how we can become stronger as a governance team, but also an SRCS community. It is civic engagement in action. And I was proud to witness that not only this night, but in past meetings and hopefully in the future. As a trustee, my commitment is to ensuring that all of our students, regardless of gender, receive the support and resources they need to thrive. I absolutely recognize the importance of uplifting young men in our community. I cannot support this resolution because it presents a narrow and somewhat misleading view of the challenges our students face. The resolution suggests that young men, in particular, are in critical condition and require immediate intervention. While I agree that many young men face significant barriers, the framing here lacks a broader and more inclusive lens. We know that young women, non-binary students, and other historically marginalized groups also face deep challenges that demand attention. Our role as a board is to ensure equity in our schools, and I worry that passing a resolution that focuses solely on one demographic undermines that effort. Additionally, the language around toxic masculinity and the idea that young men need to be fixed by women is unnecessary and divisive. Our goal should be to uplift all students in a way that fosters inclusivity, not reinforce gender divides. Rather than passing a resolution that prioritizes one group over others, I would support efforts to address the needs of all students through mental health support, academic resources, and mentorship without reinforcing a singular narrative. This is why I will not be supporting this resolution tonight or similar resolutions presented in the future. I look forward to working together in partnership with our entire SRCS community that includes students, families, community members, labor union partners, and this governance team right here in partnership with our entire staff team. However, it's really important to reassess and reevaluate what our process is for how we present resolutions and policies and agenda items in the future. And I look forward to working together with neighboring school districts, our Marin County School Board Association, or even our California School Board Association. I am proud to be your delegate assembly representative for all 17 school districts in Marin County. And I look forward to turning to neighboring school districts for guidance and examples to inspire us and bring that back to our entire SRCS community of how we can work together on a future policy in governance. And I'm just thankful for everyone who participated tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as you all know, today is my first night.
Welcome.
So, rocky here, and I know I'm not quite as polished as I would hope. But I do want to share a few comments here tonight. But first of all, I want to really acknowledge all of you for being here and the folks also on the Zoom. I know how long it takes because I've gone through the process of applying to be a school board trustee. take lots of preparation and time away from your family. Just like tonight, I cannot be with my daughter when she's at her school presentation. So again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. I deeply appreciate that. I want to fair to say, I've been many other community meeting and commission. I know the first thing we always remind each other is to acknowledge and to assume positive intent. So I do want to acknowledge my fellow trustee Kerner, his concern and his desire to advocate for his children. I have a boy and a girl as well, and I know personally that they're very different. We try to raise them the same way, but they have different personality, different interests. One like mushroom and the other one doesn't like mushroom. You know, we try to provide them with common need, the safety, love, and respect. But at the same time, we know that they have challenges that require our attention and support. So for that, I'm really committed to working together with our fellow trustee and our board to strengthen our support for all students, not just some student of this student or that student, but all students in our district. You know, when I work at Sonoma State at CSU, we recognize there's achievement gap between our students. We put a lot of time and resources to work closing that gap. So looking at data using analytics, I personally experienced that is really important. I think earlier when we had presentation by our district leadership from Sun Valley, to showing that the difference between the different student population and the gap between them and how to identify the resources to make the difference. I think those are what our board and what our district should strive for and should do. So with that, you know, again, I support that our focus should be all students and to support all students regardless of where they come from and where they begin. And also use data-driven, evidence-based information to make informed decisions. And I also agree with our labor leadership for speaking out and also for recognizing that, you know, our decision cannot be made in a way that without proper consultation and made informed decision with the expert and also with the teachers that we actually work with our students on a day in and day out. During my application process, I did kind of prepare myself for some of the reports. So I know that Trustee Kerner also quotes some national statistic, you know, about how our male and our students perform. But I also learned from our equity audit report that was published in August 2019, that showing that you know, we do have some achievement gap and opportunity gap within our district. So this statistic is more specific to our district and to our students. So I kind of want to just call a few here just to share. So for example, our male students do our numbers of female students. So we have about 54% of the enrollments are male students based on the 2019 report, and about 45% are female students. However, there's a significant gap in terms of the enrollment and also successful completion for the full A to G course sequence by gender, ethnicity, income. Ethnicity is the stronger predictor of the A to G completion rate. And why the A to G completion rate is important? Because that determines the student eligibility for admission to a UC or CSU campus, impacting the success to higher education, access to higher education, or to further the career training. So in our district, the A and G completion rate for female is about 51%, and our male students were 33%. This is based on the statistic available to us. And also in the district-wide AP enrollment is also proportional to, you know, in terms of the representation. Our male students are underrepresented in the AP class enrollment, but not only just the male student, but English learner, our Latinx student, the economically disadvantaged students, and students in special education are also mostly underrepresented. So when we say all students, we do have to look at all students and how to better support all of them. And last but not least, in terms of GPA performance, our female students overperform males by roughly about 1/3 of a quarter point. So there is gaps that I think, we should recognize. So I don't want to completely discount that we don't need to understand the issue and how to better support our educator, support our professional staff, just better support our students. In the resolution, and I looked at some of our recently approved resolution, including the Black History Month and the Women's History Month, to recognize the many achievements of our citizens. We do provide really specific examples of what those achievements are. And so when we communicate and send out the resolution, we are not vague. We are not like, people don't understand what those are. So I do encourage that if we do have the resolution, we really specifically quote some of these examples. This morning, I reached out to our former trustee, Natulin, Natulova. Okay, thank you. I'm still trying to pronounce his name. So I met with him for about an hour this morning, trying to consult with him, what can we do to move our board forward? As you all know, Trustee Natu has served the board for 20 years and just retired back in 2022. He is a great example of what a male students have accomplished and achieved in our district. Throughout his 20 years of service, the district have gone from 5,000 kids to 7,000 kids. He have gone through the he went to Greenwood P School, St. Pedro Elementary School, Santa Venetia Middle School, and also San Rafael High School. And he went on to graduate from UC Berkeley. And then after that, he has a successful career in the NFL. And then he moved back to San Rafael, continued to contribute to the district by serving on our school board for another 20 years. So I think those were the example that's missed it from our resolution. And I asked him, would you mind if we include it in the resolution in the future? He said, absolutely, those are true. Those are what he did. So again, although I understand that, there might be an interest to pull the resolution out from the today agenda. But what I will recommend is, we want to table that agenda for future discussion, but also to request the superintendent's office to form a committee to further investigate and to reach out to our district leadership, our students, and our parents, so that more data-driven, informed decision can be made, so we can better serve all our students. Thank you.
Thank you. First day, all right. I wanted just to say that, when I came to this country at a very young age, I was met with educators and leaders that believe in all children. And I didn't speak English. And I was very thankful for my teachers and my district leaders that believed in me and my siblings. And I am glad that we're putting halt to this resolution because we need to take a minute. And I think that sometimes there's good intentions and sometimes language can make us, think that there's this other intention. And I agree that we need to think of, in collaboration with our teachers, what is happening in our schools, what's happening in our middle schools, what's happening in our K-5, and also working with our union leaders. And so I just hope that we can all realize that when you're a school board member, you're not perfect. It's hard sometimes to know the right path forward. And so I hope we can all work together and think through and echo what my colleagues have said here and think through how we continue to support all of our students in our school district. And I want to thank you all for being here and for really raising your hands, speaking out for your children, other people's children, and making sure we're having a successful school district in classrooms and schools. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I echo what my colleagues have said. And with that, I would like a motion to pull the resolution, please.
Motion to pull resolution number 2425-44 off the agenda.
Okay, pull from trustee Deanna Marsh.
I second the motion.
And second by trustee Kerner. And that motion passes. All in favor? Oh, wait, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to move on to our next, what is it? Resolution. The next resolution is 2425-43 and support. Oh. Okay. The next resolution is 2425-43 in support of recognition of March 31st, Cesar Chavez Day, presented by Superintendent Geisel.
So on August 18th, in 2000, the state of California recognized the birthday of Cesar Chavez as, and established the Cesar Chavez Day of Service and Learning. And I believe it started in 2010 at Davidson Middle School. There were some service and learning days there. As we all know, Cesar Chavez led the United Farm Workers Union to many accomplishments, including better pay, working conditions, and rights for farm workers. He also worked on environmental issues, and he also worked on working on a pension plan for the workers. So he was very concerned about the national voice of environmental protection and consumers' needs on society. So staff is asking that the board approve resolution 2425-43, Cesar Estrada Chavez Day on March 31st, 2025 is cash order.
Okay, well, thank you, Superintendent Geisel. Do I have any comments or questions from, the board on this resolution to support Cesar Chavez Day, on March 31st?
No comment.
I have a comment. Okay. As a trustee of Santa Fe City Schools, I'm proud to support resolution number 2425-43 in recognition of Cesar Chavez Day. Cesar Chavez's unwavering commitment to justice, dignity, and the rights of farm workers embodies the values we strive to instill in our students: perseverance, service, and leadership. In partnership, he worked with women like Dolores Huerta and Filipino farm workers, leaders like Larry Itliong, and he helped to build a movement that transformed labor rights and social justice, shaping California history, this same history that our students are learning in our classrooms. Their legacy, Cesar Chavez's legacy, as well as these partners, remind us the collective action and courage can ignite lasting change, and is our responsibility to honor their work by fostering equity and opportunity in our schools. Let us take this day to reflect on the contributions of our agricultural workers and reaffirm our commitment to social justice and education as tools for empowerment. Si se puede. And I want to invite our school communities, and I know our student trustees aren't here, but if you have events that are coming up in honor of Cesar Chavez, or even our, just in general, our Latinx community, please always send those invitations to us as a governance team. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Dinema Marsh. Trustee Kerner.
Thank God.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Kerner. I'm just very excited as someone who was in awe of Cesar Chavez. It's when I first came here. I was a farm worker with my family. I think this is a great way to honor all the great work he's done. So thank you so much for bringing this forward. I need a motion.
Motion to approve resolution in recognition of Cesar Chavez.
Second.
Trustee by Trustee Rhoda. Second by Trustee Dinema Marsh. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Alrighty, now we have public comment on non-agendized items. And so, is there anyone in the room on non-agendized items? On Zoom?
Those on Zoom can use the raise hand features for public comment on non-agendized items. Give it a moment. Seeing none.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, approval of consent agenda items that I did pull 24.
Yes.
So that means
I
that,
would like to bring that back at a later board meeting.
okay, so, does anyone want to pull any of the, approval consent agenda items? And if not, we will be approving it without 24 and bringing that back.
Nothing.
Nothing to pull? Okay, all right, so can I get a motion to approve the non-consent agenda items?
Motion to approve the non-consent agendized items.
All right, thank you, Trustee Rodas. Can I get a second by Trustee Kerner? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion passes. And now we are going to our discussion and information. Education services is up first, right? Yep. Okay. Oh, we're at number, sorry.
Society.
Oh, I think it's something doing that? Sir Coleman?
It's number,
No, you know what it is, I don't know, I can do it.
Oh, this is the one for the Humane Society?
Yes.
You know, it's been a long night. It's good. We're good.
I just pulled that and find it.
Yeah. I apologize. Here we go.
Okay,
This one is fun. So the Marin Humane Society, so the Marin Humane Society and many groups around the nation do something with reading to dogs. And so this is an opportunity that we have. We're going to pilot a program at Coleman where we have the opportunity to have the Marin Humane Society bring some dogs in for our, I know, for our youngest students to practice reading to. And there's actually a lot of research around the ways in which this supports our students, but especially our students who are hesitant readers or who are still building up their confidence. Generally speaking, kids love dogs, but also dogs are non-judgmental. They're not going to tell you when you got a word wrong. They're not going to ask you questions. They're going to sit, listen to you, and love you as you read and you try out your words. And so this is something that we look forward to bringing back under consent. And we look forward to trying this program in partnership with Marin Humane Society and see how it goes, and maybe someday bring it to more schools.
Thank you. I have a comment first because I feel biased. So I will say at Glenwood in 5th grade, as you all know, I have twins. One of the classrooms has a guide dog for the blind, and the other class doesn't. So I will say that the dog in the classroom has such a great effect on all the students. And then sometimes, I think it was when Miss Wood, someone else would bring a dog as well. So I think I'm so for this. I hope the pilot works. I think it does diffuse students and lets them be just deep breaths. So yes, I'm super in favor, excited for it to come back. If anyone has another comment, I just wanted to say, because I'm living this moment in the classroom, so.
No, I saw it at the San Rafael Library many years ago when my kids were young. They went they were excited to participate in it. So yeah, it's very good.
You don't have to have a comment. I was just so excited by it.
I want invitations for all of us. There might not be enough dogs for you all to meet to, but you know, I can bring my dog.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing that forward. Okay. Now we have discussion and action session. So board business, appointment of board representative to various organizations and committees. Oh, this is the committee.
Yes.
Yes.
So what we are asking the trustees
Yeah.
to do is you're going to discuss your appointment of board representation on various committees, which is attached in the board agenda this evening. We are mandated to do this as part of our Brown Act compliance. So in your board packet, you have received the board representation on committees, but there is a member and an alternate for each of the committees. So if there needs to be any changes made to this committee list, please let us know. Otherwise, we are asking for you to approve it this evening. Correct? Did I miss anything, Maya?
Thank you for coming.
I'm no longer going to be able to be on the ERC2 or what is it?
That's the 7 a.m. one that we do.
E3.
I gotta pull up.
Efficiency, effectiveness.
Yeah, that would be great for.
So if we are looking at it, just going off the list, we have our culture committee of belonging. We have Ms. Geneva Marsh and Mr. Rodas for that one. The strategic plan is Mr. Rodas and Mr. Kerner. And then for the elementary district budget advisory meeting dates, we have Carolina Martin, but we don't have an alternate in that one. So we need an alternate in that one. And then in the high school budget district advisory, we have Mr. Kerner as our member, but we don't have an alternate for that one. And then parcel tax, Mr. Kerner and Ms. Martin is an alternate. Strategic Facility Planning Committee, Mr. Kerner and Ms. Martin are on that committee. The DLAC committee, we have Mr. Rodas, and we have two alternates. We have Ms. Martin and Ms. Mo Marsh. The Superintendent Student Advisory Council, SAC, we have Ms. Modi Marsh and Mr. Rodas. The Community Schools Advisory Council, we have Mr. Rodas as a member, but we do not have an alternate. This Community Schools Advisory Council. Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council, we have Ms. Martine on that one, but we do not, that's the PTA president.
Oh, yeah.
We do not have an alternate on that one. Marin County School Boards were loaded. We have Ms. Martine, we have Ms. Geneva Marsh, we have Mr. Kerner, we have Mr. Rodas, and we have Mr. Lau on those. And then, for the trustee representative member of the board of directors, Marin County School Board Association, we have Ms. Melanie Marsh and Mr. Kerner. The Efficiency and Effectiveness E2 Collaborative, which meets at 7:30 to 8:30. The next meeting is on, March the 12th and May 14th, only 2 more left. That is Mr. Kerner saying he can no longer participate as a member. We do have an alternate, so there is a place there for Mr. Lau. If he chooses, or anyone. City, county, school districts, liaison committees, Ms. Moden, Neighbor Marsh, and Mr. Rodas are attending those meetings. That's with the meetings with the county and the city leadership. Golden Bell is Ms. Moden, Neighbor Marsh. GLAC is Ms. Deniema Marsh. SR Heads Up Foundation Liaison is Ms. Deniema Marsh, and Mr. Rodas is an alternative. And by the way, there is a meeting on, let's see, that's March 5th. I think we've done that one, Foundation Liaison. There's the next one, April 2nd. So we have plenty of spaces that still need to be filled for alternates.
For JLAC, I'm surprised. Is there not an alternate or is it just me?
It's just,
It's just me.
usually just you.
Okay.
Because there is a nomination.
Oh, wait, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you
So-
for that clarification.
So I know that with my commute and the time, for sure, if you need an alternate for the Superintendent Parents Advisory Council, I can be on that for sure, because I'm
Okay.
Zoom, right?
Yeah, and no pressure. What I would like to do, considering it's already 9 o'clock tonight, instead of going through each of these items, I would suggest that we bring this back at the March 24th meeting, and that will give you a time, trustee Lau, to look through and see which ones you can commit to.
Yeah, and also maybe you guys can see it. I know when maybe you decide there's only 4 of you, but you know, if there's anything that you need my help and I can fill you in, just let me know. I do have commute during the day, but Zoom usually better in evening and early morning I can do that.
So I would suggest that you go through the document and add yourself as potential alternate two, and that way, because we have to have a board
Yeah.
vote. So we need to make sure that everything's definitive. So if we can bring this back at the March 24th meeting, which will give you some time to review it.
And if there's anything, trustee Lau, that you like, and there's people on it, I would just say, when you come back, hey, I would, one thing we've done, if you're overly on committees and you need help, and you might say, hey, I would love to help you on that committee, please jump in and share that with us, and then we'll talk about that.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so we also want you to be doing committees you're very interested in or passionate about.
So
Thank you.
there's the
we can
document
rotate
with
off.
you. So if you can look through and
Mhm.
you commit to that, so we'll bring it back on the March 24th board. Great, save us some time for this evening. All righty. Hey. Yeah. We have second interim.
We have second interim.
The elementary school together and the high school. You do it for the July.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
Let's get going.
Thank you, guys. I know it's been a long meeting. I will do my best to move through. I'm sure Ms. Perino will help me with that. Also included in the second interim is an enrollment update, as was the request of the board. And so we'll start with enrollment. Go ahead, and just before we get started, I just want to thank our enrollment team. Our leader of that team, Lillian Mazariegos, and then some great staff that she has with her, Claudia Lucero, Bianca Gramajo, and Maria Barragan.
Oh, yeah.
They are an amazing team that just processes the community coming into their office all day long with enrollment, and they're so professional, diligent, organized. It's an honor to serve them. So just want to give them a shout out. Just a big picture look at 20-year enrollment. I've shared this slide before. I did want to add some numbers there to kind of show the peaks and valleys. I think the best way to look at this slide, if you look at it in the future, is to go from blue to green to gold. And you can kind of see the bubble of enrollment move through the grade levels by going from blue to green, which is the 6-8, and then finally gold, which is the high school. Interestingly, in the high school district, we are currently at our peak over that cycle. You can see in the elementary district, like we hit our peak in 15-16. And then obviously a few things happened in between 15-16 and now, but you can see we're sort of recovering and back, getting back toward, pre-pandemic levels, which is a great thing to see. Go ahead and go to the next slide. You can see our projections. Certainly doesn't look as exciting as the last 20 years. But you can see where we are right now in 24-25, and really as we look ahead, not only just the next 3 years, but even beyond that, we're seeing a slight downward trend in the high school, but it will be interesting to see how the addition of TK impacts the high school district later on. But we're really projecting stable enrollment for the most part. I think there are definitely some things that can come into play, like some of the housing that's happening in Marin, and how will that impact our district. That's really hard to predict those things, and so we'll see how this looks. But in terms of our projections for budgeting and facilities, we're really projecting pretty stable, flat enrollment for the moment. Wanted to just show a very quick kind of snapshot as of March 7th. These numbers are already wrong. That's how quickly enrollment moves. But you can see just the totals for each school site, the totals at each grade level. It kind of gives you a sense of the pattern. Most of our grade levels are somewhere in the 400 to high 400s, and then you can see the size of our schools. The big news is on the next slide, which is our TK. You can see, if you read these from the bottom up, you can see from 1920 to 25-26, you can see how many TK students and kindergarten were enrolled in March. And then what was the change from March to August? And you can see that the difference there would be in the green. And then now you can see in 25-26, we have currently 290 TK students that have enrolled. And on average, averages don't always work, but on average, we should expect 20 plus more students between now and the start of the school year. And so we are actively planning as a leadership team on being able to accommodate, over the target of 300 that we have had as we were building this budget and our facilities. We're expecting potentially 320. And we're already talking about where and how and what we would do to add those classes. So a good problem to have, and perfect timing that all of our TK classrooms will be coming online. And we've opened up the Early Learning Center, which has turned out to be an amazing place. So that's something that you can look at later in terms of what that trend is, but that just wanted to show that news to you. Next slide. This just shows projected enrollment for the next school year, 6th through 8th grade. We're looking at about 1,300 middle school students. Lots of energy there, that 1,300. Next, we have 9th through 12th grade. And you can see some of the patterns there. Overall, 9 through 12, we have 2,614 students that we're projecting 25-26 in the high school district. There's a note there at the bottom that mentions how we base our staffing, our initial allocation of staffing in the high school district. We use a staffing ratio of 30-1. And then we look at restricted dollars and other programmatic needs that add additional FTE and to that 30-1. And then we usually end up somewhere in the 25-1 range. This is a slide that was compiled by our very own Cecilia Perez. Thank you. I stole it from you. This just really is just trying to show, not trying, Cecilia, you really are showing this. The difference between, the newcomer enrollment from August to May of last school year, and then August to current day, and you can see the difference there. 245 fewer students so far in 24-25 of newcomers. So I think that speaks to a lot of the anecdotal evidence that we've talked about of just the newcomers that we welcome into our district, that starting to slow down with current policies at the border and things like that. So that's a stark view of what's actually happening out there. Is there anything you want to say more to that, specifically the newcomers, Seti?
No, I mean, we're just tracking on it, but it's what, it's like Bob said, it's what we anticipated would happen, so.
Okay, this is one of the things that was really important as we were building the budget for 24-25 and has been part of the conversation as we look ahead to 25-26 was how could we improve our attendance rate and move, we stated some goals at budget adoption. In the elementary district, we were trying to hit as a district 96.5% attendance. That pre-pandemic, that would have been a very realistic goal. You can see how that has progressed over this school year. And we currently have what I'm calling a weighted average, because when you get the averages across school sites, you need to look at how many students are we actually talking about, right? If we're looking at a district average that is, say, 93%, but you have to actually look at, each school has more students than the other. And so we did some analysis. Taiwo and I worked on that together. And so we have a weighted average in the elementary district of 95.15% at the moment. With an adopted goal of 96.5, the impact in dollars to the district by not hitting that 96.5 is $865,000. So just to give you kind of a sense as to that, a little less than, it's like, what is it, 1.35% has that big of an impact on the LCFF revenues. In the high school district, a similar story, less students, so a smaller impact, but that impact on a smaller budget feels just the same. In fact, the high school district budget is, in terms of LCFF revenues, is about half of the elementary district. So their weighted average is 94.13. Our goal in the high school district was to try to hit 95%. And so the impact in dollars to the revenues from the LCFF is $472,268. So just wanted to kind of provide a segue between some enrollment discussion and then how that impacts our revenues. We still have another month. I think one point that I wanted to make was, I think it's been a particularly tough flu season, at least sort of anecdotally, that's what I'm hearing. And I also know that we had a particular day, and I want to be careful about how I say this, but where we had a significant number of students that were absent that day, and we support students and families making the choices that they feel is right for them. But that does, even just that one day when you have such a significant number of students out, it absolutely has an impact on attendance. So we're hoping that we can bring these averages up just slightly at the end of month eight, sorry. And that will be at the end of this month, and then that will be sort of the target that is set for driving our funding into the next year, so. Go ahead, Christina. Okay, moving into the budget information. What did I do that whole thing without even looking at my notes? Darn it, probably missed some stuff. Anyway, governor's budget proposal highlights. We're on what I call a COLA coaster. Had to do it.
Good.
Just that we've gone from 2.73% to 2.93%, and now we're sort of back down to 2.43% COLA for the 25-26 school year. They are talking about that 2.43% being funded, which is good. We've met the Prop 98 guarantee. I mean, one of the great things from the governor's budget is that, or not the governor's budget, but just the way the state funds education is that it's a relative guarantee, and it is difficult to touch and impact the education and funding. So while there are definitely some reductions in other areas of the state's budget, education essentially got a bit of a pass this year. The TK 10-to-1 ratio is in place, which essentially means that we are going from classes that could go up to 24, 25. Now we're doing classes of 20 with 2 adults. That gives us the 10-to-1 ratio. But you can imagine that going to classes of 20 creates the need for more classes, right? So that is, but I think ultimately that's what's good for kids and probably the 2 adults in the room too. There is a student support and professional development discretionary block grant that is being discussed. It would be $327 per ADA, but it is not a done deal, and certainly the legislature is going to get a hold of it, and I think depending on what happens economically between now and the adopted budget in June, we'll see what happens. So we did not build any of that into our multi-year projection because it's just not solid. Excited to see that universal meals, the extended learning opportunity, and the TK funding are safe. The learning recovery block grant that we are currently, we'll talk a little bit about that later. That any remaining funds will need to be built into our LCAP in the form of an action or a goal related to what that funding is serving. And so I don't foresee us having any issue with that, but that is part of the governor's proposal. And then all the safety plans now starting next year need to include an instructional continuity plan, which essentially shows how the district or each school site is going to maintain instruction in the event of something like a pandemic or something like that, right? So go ahead. Okay, so this is our LCFF calculation that we were using at first interim. I just want to show, we've already talked about some of the changes. We were projecting at that time a 2.93 COLA. You can see the total LCFF entitlement is a little over 60 million. And so when you go to the next slide, you can see the second interim. Go ahead, next slide if you want. There we go. You can see the 95% ADA and the addition of the 2.43% COLA in 25-26. And so you can see that a little over 60 million became a little over 59 million, which kind of lines up with the 800,000+ that we are short because we didn't hit the target that we all wanted to hit. High school district, this was the calculation of 95% ADA, which we were at 94.15. I'm hoping that we can increase that and be somewhere in between this LCFF calculation and the one that is after this. So this is 38.2 million, the 94%, which is on the next slide.
Cute.
There we go. It's just a scenario. You can see that's 37, almost a little under 38 million. So that is significant to the high school district, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the multi-year projection. Any questions so far? Am I going too fast?
No.
Am I going too slow?
Good pace.
Okay.
I just forgot what COLA stands for.
Cost of living adjustment. Yeah, thank you for that. Sorry for the acronym there.
Do we track the ADA count throughout the years? Like, is it 95%, 94? Is it same across, or are we getting worse? Are we getting better?
Since the pandemic, we have dropped a few percentage points. Pre-pandemic, we were hitting, in the elementary district, we would routinely hit 97%. Since the pandemic, as you can see, we're in the 95, which is better than we were even just a couple of years ago. We've brought ourselves back toward that pre-pandemic level, but we're not there yet.
Okay, thank you.
And the high school district has always been a little lower. So, was this the next slide?
It was.
It was, okay.
I moved you forward 10, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right, it was, okay. Okay, so the second interim budget highlights, this is, actually, I want to pause for a second, and I want to make sure that I don't forget to thank the incredible work, late nights, and a lot of effort that our Director of Fiscal Services, Taiwo Madison, does. He works really hard on these, and he has to answer all the questions that I have. So just want to make sure before I get even any further into the numbers, I want to thank Taiwo and Chris Posadel and that whole Fiscal Services team. So for the second interim, in the elementary district, I would say our reserves are in the healthy range. And I mean that they don't feel too low. And you know, I think they're not quite at the board identified goal of 14% above the minimum 3. But they are in for this year, I think they're in the 14% range. And so I would call that healthy, especially compared to another district that we oversee. The elementary and the high school district projecting to be short of our ADA goals. That's too bad. I know there was some effort made, and we should continue that effort in going into the coming years, because every student that shows up every single day helps us serve those students better. The high school district, the reserves are far below the board identified goal, and I'm concerned about it, and I've talked about that at second interim. The high school district is going to be flipping in and out of basic aid status over the next few years. That is not, it's not something to be alarmed about, but it does create some distraction, and it does create some, you know, Morgan Agnew always likes to call it budget noise. It does create some budget noise, because you can be, you know, it would be nice if property tax revenues could catch up, and we could start to dip back into basic aid and be a little bit more steady and solidified there. But basically we end up getting whichever calculation is higher, right? So doesn't cost the district money, but it does create a lot of back and forth. The elementary district is on pace to expend all the pandemic dollars in 25-26 or very close therein, and the high school district is in 26-27, though we may have some conversations about accelerating some of that based on where they are in their multi-year projection. We do have some curriculum adoptions in the next couple of years in the elementary district, which when you adopt curriculum, there's a significant cost to that. So we're trying to plan for that. And we are in 24-25, and we are negotiating with all three labor partners for 25-26, and with CSEA even for 24-25, and we are not settled yet. And so we don't have a sense of the impact of any of those negotiations on the multi-year projection. Next slide. So here's our elementary unrestricted multi-year projection. You can see that we are operating at a deficit, a decrease in fund balance. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a following slide, why I'm not quite as concerned looking at that as I have been in the past based on some analysis that we did. But you can see the reserves in 24-25 at 14.9, and then a trending downward, which is always something we need to be watching for. But again, I'll talk about a little bit more about what I'm noticing happens between second interim and unaudited actuals in a future slide. High school district, this is the MYP that we are submitting. You can see the 4.2% going to 3.9 and then 5.1. So lower reserves than is comfortable as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to get into the double digits. I'd like to work toward that. We are working with our high school administration and human resources and ed services to make some slight reductions in FTE, full-time equivalency allocation for next year. I think we need to continue that conversation and see if we can create some space within the budget. I want to show you what happens if you go to the next slide. This is the 94%. So if we drop by a little bit in our ADA, you can see what happens in that second year. There's sort of this little drop, and then we come back up above 3%. That's not a huge deficit to overcome, and I'll talk a little bit about that again in another slide. And there are things that we can do to make sure that that doesn't happen, but that's how close we are, right? That's how close we are. We're talking about 1 percentage point in ADA, and we are below where we would like to be, below that minimum. So that's why we are concerned about the high school district. So this is what I wanted to talk. I did a little bit of an analysis, and I don't think it's perfect, but I've been trying to figure out why, or what is the pattern that we're seeing in our unrestricted budget between second interim and unaudited actuals, right? There's this swing that happens, and I was trying to see if I could quantify it. And so I only looked back 5 years. I want to go back even further. But on average in the elementary district, and again, averages can be misleading because it goes up and down depending on the year, but on average, that swing is 2.5 million to the positive. So when I'm looking at a deficit in the elementary district of 2 million, and then I look back 5 years and I see that there's this swing to kind of bring us back almost to where we are not deficit spending, or there's a slight surplus, which is what happened from 23-24 to 24-25. We actually ended up with about a $500,000 surplus at second interim, showing that we were deficit spending. And so I think I wanted to be transparent about this. And I want to just make it clear, this doesn't mean that all of a sudden there's $2.5 million that we can just do whatever we want with, but there is, when you're conservatively budgeting and then things are not expended in the way that folks thought they would be able to, for a lot of reasons, whether it's unfilled positions, like you budget for an entire year of a position, but you only fill you know, you only fill the second half or the first half, right? Things like that happens, or vacancies happen where somebody unexpectedly leaves and we're unable to fill that, right? There's grants and apportionments that come in later in the year. And there's changes to how we are funding certain things. And I think there's more to it than that, but that's my initial, you know, what's happening, right? And so the high school district is similar in the sense that there's about $1 million. It's actually a little under $1 million average swing between second interim. And then we close the books and we, you know, kind of take care of all the expenses and all the revenues, and we end up looking a little bit more positively than we started. And so I think that has to be taken into account at this point in the year when we're looking at where we think we're going to end up. Short slide here, just on the restricted side of the house. This is all of our title money, you know, block grants, learning recovery, and the art, music, instructional materials block grant, which we're going to talk about in a second. This includes our parcel tax, and any other local grants. And that we should see a deficit when we're talking about grants, right? We get the grant and we spend it down. Go ahead. So this is the elementary COVID grant expenditure plan. And you can see the way that this is read is you have a beginning balance, or what's BB, and then you have the expenses for that year, which are in pink. And so in 24-25, you can see we started, you know, we had a beginning balance. Let's just look at 6762, which is the art, music, instructional materials block grant. You can see we had a beginning balance in 24-25 of 1.5 million. And we are expecting to expend all of that on those actions, namely counselors and other support staff. And that will fully expend that block grant. And then we will start to work on our learning recovery block grant. This was the plan all along, right? Was to try to extend out these actions as long as we could, using the grants that needed to be expended first, and then moving into the learning recovery block grant, which we were a little bit worried at one point that they were going to pull that money back, but instead of pulling it back, they just made us put it into the LCAP. So we're excited that we still have an opportunity to spend those funds. You can see that at the end of 25-26, so if we roll the beginning balance into 26-27, we really only have about half of what we're currently spending remaining. And so what this signals is that going into 25-26, even though we've been saying it all along, we are going to again need to engage with our community and help them understand that the pandemic dollars are going away, and we have some decisions that we need to make about the staffing and what are the priorities for our district. High school district is similar. Next slide. They have about one more year of time to do that at this particular moment, right? So they're fully expended after 26-27, and then they roll into 27-28 with 92,000. 92,000 could get swept up in a second, right? And so that's something to be watching.
Going back to the elementary district, what contribute to the jump of the expenses from 24-25 to 25-26 from 1.2 to 2.7?
Do you want to finish first before you take questions, or you want to take questions live?
Either way.
Okay, I just want to respect your presentation. Okay.
Yeah. Are you talking, is this the slide that you're referring to?
Yeah,
okay.
the 1.2 to 2.7.
Oh, it's a total. It's 2.7. So there's no other argument to block grant, so you're fully expending it in learning recovery block grant. Half of it was going, basically half of it was going in art music block grant, and half, well, less than half is being used for the learning recovery thing. So the total amount is 2.7 million.
So this year we are using both grants.
Oh, okay.
And then going into next year, all we have is the learning recovery block grant. So we have our beginning balance of 4.1 million. We're planning on expending 2.7. And then we'll end up with 1.3 million left in 26, 27, which is, I mean, that's still good money that we can use for something, but it will have to make some decisions about what we're currently spending that on.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I know this chart is, once you kind of understand how it works, it makes a lot of sense, but it takes a minute. It took me a minute. Okay, let's see, closing messages. Again, 2025 is the year for dialogue and decision as pandemic funds run out, right? We need to decide what is the priority, and essentially we're really talking about things outside of the classroom, like counselors or coaches or instructional coaches or intervention teachers or some additional community liaisons, things like that. So we have some really hard conversations to have, and I don't think, I don't want to downplay that at all. It's going to be challenging, but we need to start talking about it, and it shouldn't become as a surprise. We need to determine a plan for building back reserves toward the board identified goal. And that's going to be a combination of revenues, increasing revenues because of ADA, and also making some decisions about, what is the core program and what do we want to focus on. And that really connects to the next bullet there, which is now is not the time to add anything new to our unrestricted budgets, right? It's not the time to, I think we need to hold tight where we're at, and especially in the elementary district, I think we're in a good place. Let's not impact that budget more than we absolutely need to. And definitely in the high school district, like I said, I am concerned. We don't have a lot to play with there. We're also going to have to live with some uncertain impacts. I mean, there's been a lot of messages around federal funds, and I don't know what's going to happen with that, right? Border policy, we saw earlier in the enrollment slide how that's going to impact us. We love those kids. We want all those students, and in many ways, the steady influx of those new community members into San Rafael has really helped us with enrollment and all of that. So, and then obviously tariffs. I mean, every time I walk into the Capitol Facilities office, I hear about how we're now seeing contracts where there's contingencies for the higher cost of steel, wood, whatever it is, right? So that we don't know what that's going to look like. It probably means that a lot of our contracts and a lot of the contracts that we have where there are materials costs, all of those contracts go up, right? And then obviously TK enrollment impact is positive, but our ADA can improve across the board. I think that's the end. I know you guys are hoping for that. All right, there we go.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you will bring back in May the revisions and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I will be bringing in June the adopted budget for 25-26. So, but I do need the board to approve the second interim reports.
Yeah.
So that I can send those to the county. So
Yeah. So
You need two separate votes, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Item number 2
and number 3.
Can I ask them?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, please.
for newcomer enrollment, is that already built into the projections? That in terms of the trend?
Yeah, I believe there was a downward trend. We have a downward.
So is it more highly impacted high school district?
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's gonna impact it's impacting the outer years, yeah, it's gonna negatively affect I think it's negatively affect the high school more than, because the elementary has TKA boosting up up their ADA, but all the newcomer areas, the unaccompanied minors and stuff there are stuff that coming would be more high school age, so that's gonna be a drop in that ADA. That total enrollment, which is not the ADA itself, but the enrollment, which also will negatively affect the out years.
We have had years where the newcomer enrollment was focused in a certain grade level. But it has fluctuated. There's been years where, I don't know, it was a few years ago, I felt like they were all coming to the high school district, and then it started to shift away from that, and we started to see more across the elementary grades.
Because your graph, the one that you were sharing with us, that the TK, the blue line, the green line, the yellow line, it looked like the TK to fifth grade and then 6th to 8th are relatively flat, but then the high school one that it start to decline. So is that kind of a contribution to that?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the slide that you're talking about.
Number 4.
This slide?
No, this slide.
Oh, yes, the high school has been on a sort of slow decline, and that part of it is those newcomers. Part of it is just sort of a natural attrition that for some reason we see in the high school district. Marin's birth rate has been declining for years, and we've just been kind of waiting for that to impact us, but because of the newcomers and because of TK, we always seem to kind of stay afloat, and it doesn't impact us in the same way. But in the high school district, we're projecting, as this sort of lower bubble moves through. Remember, the high school district right now is sort of at its highest point, but there's some lower enrollment levels at the elementary and 6-8 that are coming behind it, right? That pandemic dip has not quite hit the high school yet.
Okay, no further questions. We need a.
Molly's got a question.
Can I ask a
question, or should I wait until Wednesday? It's just, I have a question about the slide with the COVID dollars.
Okay.
And it looks like we're spending about 2.8 million COVID money every year, and a little bit more in 26, 27. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what it's showing.
Okay, so then those dollars go, and that's about what we have to, that amount of money is the kind of amount of money we need to be making decisions about?
I think it's a good ballpark
Got
concept. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You all set?
Yeah, that was my only question.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, great. All right, with that, I need a motion to approve the elementary school district second interim report.
Motion to approve.
Moved by trustee Kerner and second by who?
We need to note the update.
I probably, yes, say Bob, you need to know the update.
All right.
In item number 2, it looks like a typo occurred. And it says
23,
24.
It should be 24, 25.
The next one says 24, 25.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, that slipped by me.
Okay. All right, so all in favor of number 2, the elementary school district second interim, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Do I have a motion for the approval of the high school district second interim report?
Motion to approve.
Moved by trustee Denema Marsh,
Second.
Second by trustee Rodas, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Okay, number 4. Oh, wait, sorry, trustees, we are going to, edit the agenda.
So staff is asking, in the interest of time, it is 9:45.
If not, we'll be here till
And
12.
we have at least, with the addition of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
16.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 items still to discuss and vote on. So I have asked staff to go through the items and let me know which ones can be tabled until March 24th. Otherwise, we will be here to well into midnight. And I don't think that's a good idea for staff. So these are the items that I have been told by staff that can be tabled till March 24th. Item number 4, Bob?
Yeah, you can table that.
Okay,
And 10.
and
I
10.
didn't get a chance to answer.
Okay. Oh, I know, you were busy. I was listening. Item number 4, number 10 for business services. Items number 5 and 6 must be presented this evening. Yes, they're essential. Items number 7, 8, and 9 can be tabled until March 24th.
And I think it just said 10.
And 10.
Yeah.
Items number 11 and 12 must be presented this evening.
Yes.
Items number 13 and 14 can be tabled until March 24th. And then item number 15, you have to do
Yes.
tonight. And item number 16, we can also do tonight. Just don't.
It's fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. Let's end on a nice note.
So I need the board to make a motion to amend the agenda as follows in the interest of time and endurance.
Moved by trustee Kerner,
Second.
second by trustee Rodas. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. We are editing our in the interest of time.
So then on that note, we move to item number 5, presentation of the revised contract proposal from Town Elementary and Secondary School Districts.
Yes, thank you. So, item number 5 is a revision of the sunshine article from, the district, with CSEA. There was some slight changes that we needed to make to their initial proposal, so we have adjusted those and we are, requesting approval of the revised sunshine article.
We lost the president.
So in her absence. trustee-
Yes.
Yeah.
So any other information or any concerns or questions?
No comment.
No.
So I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the revised sunshine articles.
Trustee Rodas. Do I have a second?
Yeah. Second.
Trustee Lau. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
So the next item is, revision of the, CSEA's proposal, sunshine letter to the district. There were some edits that they needed to make as well. So we are just bringing this back and requesting approval of the revised sunshine article from CSEA.
I have a motion to approve. Any
Motion to
questions?
approve. Oh, unless we have questions.
Yeah, any questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns.
Okay, motion approved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And the motion passes. Are all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay, motion approved.
Now we move on to item number 11, human resources.
So this is the elementary, item 14.1.11 is the approval for resolution 2425-46. The resolution releasing temporary certificate employees for the elementary school district. And all of them have already been notified by email from myself. Every year, their contract ends in the end of the school year, but this is a resolution just affirming that. So we're requesting approval of resolution 2425.
Any questions?
No question, no questions.
No question.
Motion,
Motion to approve.
moved by trustee Kerner.
Second.
By trustee Rodas, all in favor, say.
Aye.
Motion passes. And number 12.
This is the high school district, approval of resolution 2425-47, resolution releasing temporary certificated employees from the high school district. All of them have also been notified. And so I'm requesting, approval of resolution 2425-47.
Motion approved.
Second.
You first.
Oh, sorry.
You're
I was
first.
gonna say
I'll
motion.
second.
My apologies.
No, no
Motion to
problem.
approve.
Not second motion.
Trustees Miller, second.
I didn't realize that was the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes.
Okay, now we're on item number 15.
So this is a approval of resolution 2425-54 regarding the reduction or discontinuance of particular kinds of service for a certificated employee to lay off for the elementary school district. This is one elementary teacher position that is due to not budgetary concerns, but due to this. I'm trying not to be vague, but we have not notified the person because we need board approval first. So I just want to share that. But this is the
Program shift.
It's a program, thank you, program shift from the district to the county.
Mm-hmm. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve,
No, you're.
okay, motion to approve.
Second.
Resolution.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I do the same thing. We're good.
Are you, okay, Dr. Lau?
Oh, yeah.
Number 16, no, you need to vote.
Oh,
All in favor? Aye. I think I hear you. All right, and the last item, item number 16. Tell me something good.
Here we go. The following donations were received by the Center Falls City Schools. We've got Laureldale Elementary, one of our just repeat stars here. We've got Cook's Company, which has donated $1,500 for Walker Creek scholarships.
Wow.
We have the O'Donnell Financial Group with $375 for Walker Creek scholarships. And we have First Federal Savings and Loan with $375 for a Walker Creek bus. So thank you to Cook's Company, O'Donnell Financial, First Federal. At Madrone High School, we have Marcos Montes from Comcast donating 25 backpacks valued at $600 for the Bridge program. And then we have San Pedro Elementary, Mark and Rebecca Schulman for transportation, valued at $550.60. Total donation tonight, $3,400.60.
Get those cents right, you know? All right, that's so exciting. So we have to approve. So do I have a motion to approve? No, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the donations.
Moved by trustee Rhoda,
I second.
second by trustee Lau. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That donation passes. Wonderful. Thank you everyone for such a long night and being here together. So thank you so much. And with that.